Alrighty, sort of for opening prayers, Mr. Cox.
Let us pray. Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for allowing us to gather here this evening. We thank you for all the blessings you bless us with. Be with us as we conduct business, and just be with us as we go through our agenda, and let us say the things that we should say pleasing to you, and the decisions that we make. Thank you for all that you do for us. In Jesus' name, amen.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all.
Next will be our quorum.
Ms. Bechtel?
Here.
Mr. Cox?
Here.
Mr. Booth?
Here.
And Mr. Tarman?
Yes.
Oh, thank you. So just to back up a second, I have confirmed Ms. Bechtel, Mr. Cox, Mr. Booth, and Mr. Tarman. And also need to let everyone know that Ms. Cookenbook is on the road. She was actually driving when we spoke to her a little bit earlier, and is on the way to visit some family, but sent her apologies and thought you all would understand the family is very important. So that's where she is. And she will not be calling in this evening.
Next up would be our approval of the agenda. You said you wanted to add personnel and under the closed session.
Yes, Mr. Chair, we'd like to add one additional closed session, which would be at 2.2-3711A1 related to personnel. And Mr. Durbin has the specific language that would be most appropriate.
Thank you. The code section, A1, is discussion, consideration, or interviews of prospective candidates for employment, assignment, appointment, promotion, performance, demotion, salaries, disciplining, or resignation of specific public officers, appointees, or employees of any public body. And specifically, with related to the general topic for discussion, tonight would be discussion, consideration of prospective candidates for employment, assignment, appointment, promotion, and salaries of employees of the public body.
Thank you.
Anyone else have anything to add? If not, I'll take a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved, as amended.
I'll second.
All right, Mr. Chairman, I'll go ahead and call the roll on the approval of the agenda as amended with the addition of one more closed session under A1. Mr. Booth?
Yes.
Ms. Bechtel?
Yes.
Mr. Cox?
Yes.
And Mr. Turman?
Yes.
And of course, Mr. Cookenbook is not here tonight.
Next, we have the approval of the disbursements. Any questions?
Yeah, I do.
I thought I seen it. Look.
On page 11, we got a 07 Ford fuel pump for $1,083. Take it that's including labor and installation and all?
Yes.
Okay. I guess same thing on the cab shield on down.
Correct.
Do you know what this Buffalo Mountain auto repair for 1,200 is?
No, I would have to go back.
Well, I mean, I'm sure it's fine. It's just the stuff jumps out.
It is a transfer station. I do know that. It came in with those. So I believe it had to do, oh, yes, I do. Excuse me. It had to do with the hydraulic on the pump. The roll-off was on there and it was the hydraulic. So they had to correct the hydraulic issue as well as the switch that was through the plug. Took me a minute, but yes.
Yeah, I was thinking he done hydraulics at first.
Yep.
That was all I had, sir.
Anyone else? No one has anything further. I'll take a motion to approve.
So moved.
I'll second.
But we weren't going to pay them. It's going to go ahead and call the roll.
All right, thank you. On the motion to approve the disbursements as presented, Mr. Cox,
Yes.
Ms. Bechtold,
Yes.
Mr. Booth,
Yes.
and Mr. Turman.
Yes.
Of course, Ms. Cookenbook is not here. Thank you.
Next will be our public comment. It is the intent that all persons attending the meeting of the board, regardless of handicap and conditions, shall have an opportunity to participate. If any person present requires any special assistance, please let the board know in order that arrangements can be made. When you come up, state your name, the district you're from, and limit your comments 4 minutes. And I'll announce, Ben, it was brought up to last time, there's no sharing of minutes. So, you got a sign-up sheet?
Ms. Chair, if I might, make sure everyone that wanted to speak has signed up, and I will grab the sheet. Going. Do you want me to call, or would you like to?
You go ahead.
Okay. The first name on the list is T. Flint from Grove. I assume that's Locust Grove.
Grove, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, Tom Flint, I'm from 313 Kelly's Drive, Grove District. I am here to speak on behalf of tax-paying citizens, both working and fixed income, especially fixed income. The personal property taxes in Floyd County are very generous if you take a look around. And now you put inflation on top of it. We're all feeling it. But now you drive up the cost of used vehicles, used cars, etc. It's like paying twice on Social Security. Okay, we're having to pay increased taxes because of the increased valuation. That was the answer I got. So I would ask you guys, whether it's about increasing personal property taxes, consider and pass something that provides some relief, especially to people on fixed incomes. And I'm not here just speaking for myself. There are some people you know, like David West, Larry Hartman, etc., who all wanted to be here tonight, but couldn't. And I told them I'd use their names in vain. So there you go. Any questions? No. Thanks.
All right, after Mr. Flint is Daniel Vest.
I believe he would like, you want to go next? I'm just trying to keep things going for your point.
Oh, that's fine. I can.
Okay. I'll
If they're okay.
We'll ask him.
We need to go in the order that you signed up.
Okay.
Oh, I'll be glad to.
And it says Daniel Vest from Grove. Again, assume Locust Grove.
Locust Grove.
Okay,
Anybody's
thank you,
been
sir.
here 100 years. But that's the way it goes. From the response my wife got after your festival ordinance circus last meeting on October the 11th, it pretty much summed up what you think of the folks down in Czech. My wife was told that nobody from Faith Baptist Church was objecting to the festival park coming next door. Hence, that was one of the reasons the church was not considered in the revised ordinance. Well, my wife and I have been members of that church for years, and now my wife and I are nobodies. I think there's a lot more nobodies in Czech than us, too. It is very apparent Czech did not have a single advocate on the board during the festival ordinance discussion. Other districts in this county should question the same. Some of you purposely had meetings without the public present to fine-tune the festival ordinance to the liking of the promoter. In communist countries, when the governing body sets policy at the direction of selected businesses, this type of government is called an oligarchy. You should read up on what an oligarchy is. For your constitutional experts on the board, does the new ordinance by omission violate the First Amendment regarding Faith Baptist Church? Maybe some of you can recite the First Amendment by memory, but for the rest of you, I'll say what it is. Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of a religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof or abridging the freedom of speech or of the press or the right of the people peaceably to assemble and to petition the government for redress of grievances. First Amendment gives Americans 5 basic freedoms: speech, press, petition, assembly, and religion. How about Faith Baptist Church and the right to assembly and practice our religion? If we cannot get to our church to have services, or even if we can and we can't hear ourselves in the church due to the noise next door, are not our rights being trampled upon? Also, the First Amendment allows citizens to support political movements and candidates. It gives the people power to call out government corruption and abuse. And most importantly, it empowers people to give unpopular opinions. This is the reason we've been here nearly every meeting since April of this year. Thank God our forefathers had the vision to see what damage a corrupt government can do. One last thing. With the present degree of indifference to the public by this governing body, elected, appointed, or paid staff possesses, it is no wonder why our county is $33 million in debt. And from your own public discussion, you are in fact worried about the county having to borrow money to pay the bills. I'll leave you with a little note here. Remember, food, fun, and feels won't pay the county's bills. Tourism does not pay for itself. Thank you.
No, you want to do that? I was trying to, but,
All right.
oh, you are?
Kristen,
Okay.
yeah. Next on the list, Mr. Chair, is Kelly Yates from Locust Grove.
All right. My name is Kelly Yates, and I live in the Locust Grove district. The board made a poor decision 2 weeks ago to move forward with a woefully inadequate amusements and entertainments ordinance. That's just the reality. I appreciate Mr. Booth's attempt to get the hours of music changed to give consideration to the neighbors of festivals and entertainments, and I appreciate his and Mr. Cox's no votes. However, I'm not surprised that the board overall couldn't see past their own biases to make the right decision for the citizens. Let's have a little talk about rights and freedoms. In a republic like the United States, individuals absolutely have their own rights that they can exercise. But those rights cease to exist when they begin to interfere with the rights of others. For example, a music festival blaring noise at 2 a.m. is obviously going to be heard by neighbors, infringing on their rights of peace, privacy, and enjoyment of their own property. But I digress. I want to remind the board that there are 4 controls on property ownership, and let's talk about a few of them. The first is taxation, and clearly this board knows how to exercise that control. They just sent out personal property tax bills without lowering the tax rate or altering the percentage of the NADA value, as most other counties in the state did. Shame on you. We are in a recession, combined with high inflation, and people are struggling to make ends meet. And you sent out massively high property tax bills when it was well within your power to make a change to help your constituents. The second control is eminent domain, and the fourth is escheat, but we'll save those for another day mostly. Let's talk about the third control, police power. That's not the sheriff's office. It is the power of the government to regulate property in order to protect the public health, safety, and general welfare. It's what enables you to pass any ordinance, including the comprehensive plan. Further, the state requires you to have and adhere to a comprehensive plan. Its specific definition and purpose is to control growth and development so that the future of a county can be well managed and guided. I know you say you're planning a review of the plan, but let's be clear. The plan as it stands must be enforced, and you have a responsibility to do so. Because if you don't, you stand the chance of being responsible for the confiscation of property value from neighbors of Festival Park's proposed venue. And that gets into eminent domain. that's a problem. I'm all for freedoms and individual rights, but I'm not for you taking those rights or limiting the rights of individuals for the benefit of very specific entities. That's what you're doing right now, and it's absolutely unacceptable.
Okay, Mr. Chair, the last speaker is signed up is Carl Kempa from Locust Grove.
I'm here to, members of the board. I'm here, I guess, not here about the festival, but about the taxes. But anyway, I don't exactly know why everybody here seems to be from Locust Grove, but anyway. And hate to come after the EMS, because of course I'm a proponent of EMS since I'm chief at Bent Mountain myself too. But anyway, I'm just going to harp, and I know it's a little early perhaps, but this year on the property tax and the real estate tax, I think is pretty much close to the breaking point. I moved into, of course and again, I'm from Locust Grove too, but anyway, I moved into Floyd County, and I've lived here probably close to 30 years now, but I moved in to get away from higher taxes. And this year, my real estate and my personal property altogether is right at $6,000. And that's pretty much, I think, at the level of Roanoke County, Roanoke City, those type places. And I would like to see, and I understand it's a hard decision, and the county has to have money. I'm aware of all that, and I understand that car values are extremely high this year. Understand that too. But, my taxes on my cars is almost double what my real estate tax is. And I think I'm being penalized than other people, for higher, just because I have a higher, nicer vehicle. Just my pickup, for example, my 2020 Ford that I need to haul equipment is almost $1,500 just on one vehicle alone. And I understand we're all dealing with inflation because we have an imbecile in the White House, but that's a whole nother issue. But, I think we do need to look at next year, and I know I've talked to Levi, and I think y'all are going to maybe look at trying to drop the personal property tax. Maybe put a cap on vehicles that don't tax after 20 grand, something somewhere along that line to give us a little relief. But anyway, I'm not going to drop it, but just wanted to bring it to y'all's attention that there's quite a few of us that feel this way, and we will be back. Thank you.
Mr. Chair, that's the last name on the list.
Don't have no correspondence.
To be read, no.
Can I just say something? I hadn't said anything, but I just don't have anything.
You didn't sign up.
You've let people do before.
All right, I'll make this exception one time, but from now on, you don't have to sign up. Because
And sign up and refuse then next time?
No, we ain't going to debate this, all right? If you don't want to speak, speak.
Kirsten Vest, Locust Grove District. I didn't have anything planned to say, but I just wanted to say two things. First, I had sent 2 emails now to you all asking for you to look again at a specific piece of the music ordinance that you passed on the 11th, and that was the wording that now says amplified music shall not be rendered between the hours of 2 a.m. and 8 a.m. on Saturdays and Sundays, and then 12 a.m. and 8 a.m. on the rest of the days. That was changed from the 2017 ordinance where it just said no music shall be rendered. Amplified music implies that now, the rest of that time, acoustic music and drums, as you all discussed, drums are acoustic music, can be played 24 hours a day. So at 4 o'clock in the morning, if somebody wants to get out there and beat on their drums on one of those stages or at a campsite, and I know y'all talked about the camp and the acoustic guitar. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about this allows Floyd Fest and any other festival to play all night long. But during those hours, it's just acoustic. Well, you may not hear acoustic music 3 miles away. But those 100 homes that are right in that proximity, they're still going to hear it. They're going to hear the drums. So I'm just asking on public record. I've sent emails with no response except for read receipt kindly from Kim Chido and from Linda DeVito. Nobody else has responded. I just want it on public record. Please address that. And again, as my husband said, please talk about the church. It doesn't have to be specific to Faith Baptist. It should be places of worship in close proximity to a festival or a gathering of any kind of this size has to be taken into consideration. It's not going to hurt Replenish Fest if you do something in this ordinance to protect Faith Baptist Church. The last thing is, contrary to what you all may think, we are not your enemies. We are not enemies of each other. We may have different opinions about what's good for this county and what's not good for this county. We have been coming here since April, doing what is our right within the government and with our Constitution to do, begging, pleading you all for some help, just even a little compassion. And we've not seen that. So are we angry? Yeah, we are. Are we frustrated? Yes, we are. Do we question how things are run? Yes, we do, because we're getting no feedback, no compassion, nothing. At least, even though you can't say it right now, I get that. At least show that you are concerned about how this is going to affect the residents of Czech. That's all we're asking, and that's what we keep coming back for with facts and things that we've researched to say, please look at this and then help us, or at least talk to us, and not mocking us like you do in your board time after we're done speaking. That's all we're asking. Please, please consider that. Thank you.
Mr. Chair, we don't have any correspondence to be read.
Okay. Thank you. So I declare the public comment period over. We have board time if anybody's got anything to say.
Thank you. So we do hear you. We hear you very loud and clear. My position is your freedoms have already been infringed if you have to ask the government for permission. So after hearing all your concerns about this festival ordinance, thinking that we're not caring about you, you know, Patrick County had Floyd Fest for 20 years. We can always look at the ordinance that Patrick County had for festivals and amusements and follow their lead after their 20 years of dealing with Floyd Fest. That's always something we can do. If you're interested, they don't have one. That's right. They don't. So we have already infringed deeply upon the rights of the festival holders by having this ordinance, by placing undue burdens on some of the festival organizers that can barely make it now. So we have spent a lot of time, a lot of consideration trying to do the best that we can. And I think we've all spent a lot of time. We've had a lot of discussion about what's right. You voted us here.
No, I mean what I say. I can have you removed if you want. This is our time.
Okay, please do, because you're interrupting me. So thank you. So we have done everything we can to make a very nice, fair, considerate ordinance.
Do you think that was considerate? Do you think that was fair?
It is when he's not following the rules.
Your room, your house. I understand.
Yeah, we've heard that before.
We listen to y'all all the time. The least y'all can do is listen to us. Okay? And not sit back there and make comments and be rude to us.
It does go both ways.
I would advise some of y'all to choose your words wisely when you're accusing us stuff, if anybody knows of any unethical or illegal stuff that this board's doing, go to the Commonwealth's attorney, have him investigated.
We will.
Do that. Go ahead, Clinton.
I'm done. I think this festival ordinance has run its course, and unless we're gonna revoke the whole thing, I'm kind of done talking about it.
We can do that pretty easy. Then they can do whatever they want to do. Anybody else got anything to say?
Just following back up on some of the board time or public comment discussions. Yeah, I mean, I think all of us probably agree that we all know personal property taxes is on the high side.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that that's some conversations that we had going forward. And we're probably, I mean, at least for me, that's something that I want to review as we go into this next cycle too. So, not answering questions directly, but there are a few programs that we talked about at one point that the treasurer's office can help out with relief, elderly and disabled and so forth. So that's some options on that. But we hear your concerns on the personal property tax. Certainly keep coming back and talking to us about it, but I think it's something that, I mean, my grandmother called me about it. So she doesn't even have a driver's license. So it's something that I think we should look at. Now, bringing up, I do want to ask a question, but I don't want to have any debates on this. Public, just board time here, but talking about this amplified music with Mr. Durbin, is that something that can be adjusted to Ms. Best's point in terms of the way that is written?
Well, I mean, you certainly could. I mean, when we were adopting the ordinance, that was one of the amendments that was proposed, and there was some back and forth among the board members on that. So it's certainly within your power, although not tonight. I would not recommend it because there's an argument that under Robert's rules you can reconsider or rescind, but I think the Code of Virginia is going to trump that in this situation. You've advertised for an ordinance, you've adopted an ordinance, and you've adjourned the meeting. So you're now at the point where the Code of Virginia provides that the way you amend an ordinance is with another ordinance. So in order to adopt another ordinance, we would have to go through the advertisement process, and I always recommend a public hearing when you do your advertisements as well. So there is no ability for the board to act tonight, if that's your question.
Well, I just wanted some legal guidelines of answering her specific question. So
I hope that helped. If I'm missing the mark,
I just wanted to process if we wanted to open that back up. So I think you explained that.
Yeah, I think it would be another
public hearing.
Yeah,
whole new ballgame.
Okay. Yes, sir.
That's all I got.
Yes. All right, we'll move on to old business, and I'll take a motion to go in closed session under 2.23711A3, A6, A8, and the additional one of A1.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Okay. Thank you. On the motion to move to closed session under 2.23711A3, specifically related to facilities, 2.23711A6 related to EMS billing and financial software, 2.23711A8 related to opioid settlement, and 2.23711A1 related to personnel. Ms. Bechtel?
Yes.
Mr. Cox?
Yes.
Mr. Booth?
Yes.
And Mr. Terman?
Yes.
And of course, Ms. Cookenbook is not present. Thank you.
Take a motion to come out of closed session.
So moved.
Cause ain't no use looking for Linda, cause she ain't gonna show up.
I'll second.
Motion second, call the roll.
On the motion to come out of closed session, Ms. Bechtel,
Yes.
Mr. Cox,
Yes.
Mr. Booth,
Yes.
and Mr. Turman.
Yes,
And of course, Ms. Cookenbook is not here.
just take 5 for that.
Oh, to certify.
Oh, I'm
Sorry.
sorry. Certification. I'll take a motion to certify that we only discussed those things we went into closed session for.
So moved.
I'll second.
On the motion to certify, we only talked about the things that were listed under the reasons for closed session. Mr. Booth,
Yes.
Ms. Bechtel,
Yes.
Mr. Cox,
Yes.
and Mr. Turman.
Yes.
All right.
And just keep it short, cause
Thank
we're
you.
still up to date.
Okay.
I'm zoned out. I was signing checks. Yes. All right, we be back in session.
All right.
Guess we go down your part.
Well, so, Mr. Chair, I think as much as I would like to skip ahead, I think we're to 9D, approve radio system contract.
That's what I mean with your part.
My part, okay. Well, I was trying to skip to the next page, but so as you know, previously you had given us, of course, we a long time ago did an RFP and went through an extensive search process to come up with a new public safety voice radio communication system. And just want to clarify, just since it hasn't always been reported exactly the same, that this is for all of public safety. So it is for EMS, but it's also for the sheriff's office and for the fire department and anyone else who's a part of our first response team. So you all gave us the ability to go ahead and negotiate with the leading vendor that scored the best. And we did that, and then Steve and Kevin and Federated Engineering did a lot of work, and I'll turn it over to Steve, but essentially what we're looking for is for you all to authorize us to go ahead and sign the final agreement and contract.
Thank you, Dr. Millsaps. Yes, this it's been a long procurement, a significantly long negotiation period that really just was completed at, I want to say last Friday. You do have a contract in proposed final form at this point. If you have any questions or if you would like some additional review or feedback, let me know. But this has been reviewed with Kevin, myself, and with Federal Engineering. I reviewed a lot of the legal performance language and remedies, liability issues, insurance, things of that nature. Federal Engineering reviewed the technical aspects of it. But as a team, I think we're at the final. We've got it in final form now.
And if I might, the total services, you had about $4 million out of your the debt service we did previously for this. If you went through this, there are many different categories that total up to that. And just as you all are aware, there will also be some other ongoing cost associated with this, with towers and those kind of things. But this part does come in within where you'd hope to be. So with that, if there are no questions, we're happy to take questions.
Y'all got a question?
No, I just wanted to say this is one of them projects that should have been done 20 years ago, and it kept getting pushed back. So now we're having to play catch up.
You're ready. How do you need it worded, sir?
I think a motion to approve the contract with the vendor, Motorola, and to authorize signature by either the chair or the county administrator would be my suggestion.
So move.
I'll second.
Motion second, any other discussion?
I just say that I just want to thank staff because they put a lot of time into this. I know our committee put some time into it, but staff's the one that really brought this. And thank y'all.
And Kevin.
Well, I include him.
Yeah.
He's technically staff.
I mean, people don't realize the work he put in on this.
Yeah. He did pull what little hair he had out with the committee from time to time, but.
That's true.
Anybody else?
And also thank Justin for his time in on it too.
Yeah.
Okay. With that, on the motion to approve the contract as presented with Motorola for the radio system and authorize appropriate signatures by either myself or the chairperson. Mr. Booth?
Yes.
Ms. Bechtel?
Yes.
Mr. Cox?
Yes.
And Mr. Terman?
Yes.
All right, thank you. I can sign it, Joe, or whichever you'd like. Well, we got to sign 3 of them and send one of them back.
Take turns.
Okay. Thank you. Appreciate that. The next item, if I might, Mr. Chair, is and thank you. I think we're good for the rest of the items to let Mr. Durbin head out. That's all right.
Nothing else, I'll take my leave.
All right.
Good to see y'all tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Steve.
We'll get you past 12 one night, but we're going to have to wait a while. I don't feel
I'm
up
gonna start getting you a
Well, I'm
room.
disappointed.
Probably see you. No, it's next month. We got jail meeting. Okay.
That's right, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so a couple weeks.
All right. Thank you, Steve.
Good night.
Now, if you would like, Ms. Chair, we can move to 9E, approve contract negotiations with EMS billing vendor. As you recall, I guess it's been a couple of months ago, you all authorized us to move forward with advertising and collecting bids for going to a third party for EMS billing. As you know, currently that work is being done by Myra Grimm, and Myra has decided that she would like to spend more time with her family and maybe a little less time with EMS billing. And so she will be retiring. And so we have received a bid and would like your permission to go ahead with negotiations with said vendor to hopefully bring you back a much smaller contract.
Motion.
Yep, I'll make a motion to proceed with negotiations.
I'll second.
Motion second in your discussion. Call the roll.
Okay. On the motion to authorize staff to move forward with contract negotiations related to selecting an EMS billing vendor, Ms. Bechtel?
Yes.
Mr. Cox?
Yes.
Mr. Booth?
Yes.
And Mr. Terman?
Yes.
And if I might, as a quick point of personal privilege, really want to thank everyone, but especially Myra, for making a lot of extra effort to make sure this gets taken care of. She takes a great deal of pride in the work she does. So we appreciate that.
If I may, also like to point out that we are continuing our soft billing policy for our citizens.
Yes, that will be, yes, we have discussed that on the interviews in addition to having it in the RFP and made that very clear that that is to continue to be the county's policy position per the board. All right, if I might, Ms. Chair, 9F, authorize best value RFP for county administration financial system software. As you know, we've had some ongoing discussions about moving to a new underlying financial software system. And so we would like you to authorize us to move forward with developing, in conjunction with legal counsel, an RFP for an overall financial system and also a more limited financial system that would potentially exclude some offices. But we would be asking people to respond to both options, and that we would be using the best value model in that, which basically means it's not just the lowest bid, but it's looking for the best fit, the best value for Floyd County overall. So it's dollars, but it's more than just dollars.
I make that motion, sir.
I'll second.
Motion second in your discussion.
Long time to make that motion.
Call the roll.
All right, on the motion to authorize the staff and our legal counsel to move forward with developing best value RFP for a county administration and countywide financial system software, Mr. Booth,
Yes.
Ms. Bechtel,
Yes.
Mr. Cox,
Yes.
and Mr. Terman.
Yes.
All right. Mr. Chair, if I might, next, 9G before you is just an updated ARPA request list. So as you know, every couple of months, I've been kind of updating a spreadsheet to show you of the essentially $3.14 million that we have now received under the ARPA program, what programs that you have already decided to fund, what things you have earmarked, and what other requests have been made, and have highlighted some changes. A couple of the changes of note is the PSA has provided an update to their request. They have 6 projects in particular. In addition, it's changed to reflect that you use some of that money to pay for the new playground equipment, and that has all been funded. And I would note that currently, just as a side note, the playground is closed because pretty much everything is torn down and laying there, so we closed it up today. But on a very good note, we also received an additional grant for $20,000. And so that'll be used to put some we won't say mold. To put the appropriate 6 inches of product underneath all of the playground equipment for safety, and do an upgrade there, and also extend the footprint a little bit because the new set is larger than the last one. So just wanted to let you all see those updates. Yes, sir.
All right, that's all on the major playground, right?
Mm-hmm.
Are we still looking at trying to do something for the smaller ones?
Well, some of that is supposed to be broad age, and that's part of why it takes so much space. But we'll kind of monitor what the usage is and see if it seems appropriate or something else would be required.
Nothing else, and I know we've talked about it before, but if we do nothing else, get the smaller swings put back on the small one.
Okay. Yeah.
That's that's biggest thing you've got there is that and the sandbox.
Yeah.
So if some kind of point in time we could, if it doesn't work out on the other one where it's covering those real smaller, then maybe we could put get some new seats for those.
Yeah, that would be great. Well, we will put that on Jacob and Mark's list. And also wanted to let you know that the new equipment should be coming in within a month. And we have the local Boy Scouts came out and helped take down all of the existing stuff, so appreciate their extra labor. And we've also had several volunteers that have come out in addition, and several of the ACE students have been out and spent some time helping with all that. So it's been a real community effort. And you might recall the survey that I showed you several months ago specifically requested more ADA accessible equipment, and all of the new playground equipment is ADA accessible, and part of that $20,000 will be used to replace the ramps and those kind of pieces to make it accessible to everyone. Then if I might, 10A, finally new business. Authorization, this is board and agency appointments. We have received notice that one of our existing EDA board members, who has put in more than 50 years of public service, has decided that they've done as much service as they are going to do right now, and so that will leave you an open position on the EDA. So this is a request from the staff to allow us to authorize or to go ahead and advertise in the paper for an EDA board member and place it on the website.
That's not a district appointment, is it? Mm-mm. It's just, okay.
That's excellent.
I make that motion to authorize advertisement.
I'll second.
Go ahead.
Okay. On the motion to authorize staff to move forward with advertising for an EDA board member position, Mr. Booth?
Yes.
Mr. Cox?
Yes.
Ms. Bechtold?
Yes.
And Mr. Turman?
Yes.
All right, thank you. 10B, if I might, is somewhat similar. And that, of course, we have a uniform statewide building code local board of appeals. And since I've been here, I think we've had one appeal, but it was important they were here. And so we do have someone that is already serving in that role, and they would like to continue in that position.
And
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
Yeah, Daniel Grimm. Sorry. All right, Mr. Chair, if I might.
Go ahead.
So on the authorization, the motion to authorize staff to move forward with notifying continuation of appointment for the Uniform Statewide Building Code Local Board of Appeals 4-year term, currently held by Mr. Grimm. Mr. Cox?
Yes.
Ms. Bechtold?
Yes.
Mr. Booth?
yes,
And Mr. Terman?
Yes.
All right, thank you. The last appointment issue we have is the request to appoint Dustin Thomas, who you all saw this evening, as is our manager for EMS, to serve on the Western Virginia EMS board. In the past, his predecessor served on that board, and so they have written to us and asked for a new appointment and suggested he would be a good fit. And that letter is in your correspondence.
And he's got the energy to do it. Yeah, you can tell he's going.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
So if I might, on the appointment of Dustin Thomas to the Western Virginia EMS Board, Mr. Cox,
Yes.
Ms. Bechtold,
Yes.
Mr. Booth,
yes.
and Mr. Terman.
Yes.
All right, thank you. We're so close now. This next item is, or these next two items do not require any action. Just wanted to get some things before you that you've been requesting. So you will see, that should be, it's off there. So it says, it's the second C, so we'll have to fix that. Is the equipment committee documentation. Previously, you asked myself and Mr. Sowers to reach out to all of our first responder folks, fire, EMS, et cetera, to document our current status of equipment needs. And so what you have before you are the responses that he received from all those folks. There is no action requested, but it gives you a better idea of what our current status looks like. And part of why we wanted to make sure to get this to you tonight is at our next meeting on November 3rd, we'll continue some of the conversation, assuming that works for you all, around investment and equipment and future planning. So it seemed like a good time to make sure you had all of that information.
I tell you, that has been a big help to us in the past. It's read.
Yeah, it'll be a good read, I think.
Yeah, and at some point, our committee get together and actually visit each station to go over this with those people.
Sure.
Have we set up a committee yet? Who's going to be on it?
Said me and you, Justin and Jeff, if he was still willing to do it, and I guess you.
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
You or Kim, whichever can.
Okay.
Thanks.
It's actually interesting. It's, the rest of you's invited if you want to come, I guess. Or, I'd make it a form where, yeah.
Well, this is good, but, and I can get a lot from this, but actually being there looking at the vehicle one-on-one, but really.
Well, I'm a visual person. I have to see it.
Y'all put me on that. I thought I understood, but I decided I didn't until having this layout and actually talking to each of the individual stations really made a difference.
Yeah. Well, this will give you, yeah, we'll go ahead and get that scheduled, but this gives you a little more information, all of you more information. And you will note, those of you who have served in previous years, there were more questions than there have been in the past.
Yeah.
So we were trying to get you all, so you all could have more information. If I might keep going, sir. So the next item is recreation policy. And you will see in your folder something that's been a long time coming, which is a proposed parks and recreation policy document. And so in previous months,
Right here. Low disbursements. Oh, okay. There it is.
So as you know, there's been a lot of on and off discussion about what some of the policies have been related to the parks, related to the recreation program, and some questions about, well, is that the county's policy or was that the authority's policy and still the county's policy or not? So actually, as the chairman, had a very good idea, which is to ask Mr. Agee to just go ahead and write a new policy as best he thought made sense as the current director. And so he did that. And then we also circulated it to a list of about a dozen folks, most of which are current coaches or recent coaches in the recreation program, but also several volunteers, a lot of the folks that show up a lot to just do work at the park and to get their input on these things. And I know several of them, and a couple of folks I reached out to personally as well, folks that I know have had some questions before. So what you have before you is just the proposed policy and something that we'll bring back to you at an upcoming meeting, but again, wanted you all to see it. And I will just, as a preface, say, you will note that we would like to change the name from recreation to parks and recreation. So just some food for thought, because you all have chosen to do a lot of really great things for the area up there. So while there's still a lot of youth sports, there's also a lot of other things that's going on, and a lot more things that could be. Jacob even talked to me this morning about starting to do more senior citizens programming now that we have a new building. Some of those kind of things are possibilities. So that's our request.
About due diligence, don't they forget about pickleball.
I heard that. I saw that 15-year-old girl is like famous now, right? Pickleball.
It's under disbursements.
Oh, okay.
And I apologize. I know y'all loaded it 10 hours ago, but I haven't went through it.
Yeah, so I'm not asking you to do anything tonight. I just wanted you to have it.
One question.
Oh, yes, sir.
Y'all can help me. Now, the policy prior to years ago, or sometime ago, changed. Basically, the same children that were on a team last year returned to that same team if numbers allowed it. And you didn't necessarily have coaches just going through the kids picking who they wanted.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I saw a section about that.
Yeah, there is a section about there. Now, there is, I believe, still one, and I knew you were going to ask me about it. The way it's written now, I believe it still says that coaches can pick one. That was Jacob's recommendation because that's helped him sometimes with getting coaches, and sometimes that one might be their own to make it easier. But that's why you all are the board, so just wanted you to have the opportunity to look through those things, and we'll go from there.
You just have to be careful going down that road.
Yes.
Because there toward the tail end of the rec league, it just went from wild.
Yeah.
And that was part of the reasons that we stated, and of course, that was part of what got hacked and lost. But that's one of the reasons that we went back to the old way of, kept that group of kids together if you could as they moved forward. So if you had an event and you had 4th and 5th graders participating, well, those 4th graders got to stay with that same group the same team the next year, and the fifth graders moved up to the next one, but
Yeah, it's,
there's a lot of problems when you got
right.
coaches just picking their teams.
Yes. Yes, and
Unless all the names is in a hat and they just pulled them out of the
Right.
hat. And that wasn't what was happening.
no.
So,
Yeah, I believe as it's written, it's been a little while since I've looked at it again, but I believe it still allows coaches to pick one. But of course, that's something you all could choose to change. But no more than that. And then it also talks about putting more emphasis on making sure that, things like, kids that have to ride together.
right.
Those
That
kind of
was
things
some
are
good
priorities.
Considerations, but I don't know if I like the coach picking one or not. I mean, that. At this level, it's supposed to be about providing a fun activity. Yes, hopefully they learn a little something, but sometimes things get really bent sideways. I'll have to think about that one.
Sure.
And
Well,
that's
I
from
know.
years of coaching and years of sitting on the rec board and years of listening to parents.
I understand. Well, that's why I got it to you early, so you'll have lots of time to look at it before we bring it up. Because I do know, some of these things, they're very, very important to the families that participate. So we need to make sure it's reflected.
Well, I want to reflect for them, for the children. We always try to look at it. Children are under so much pressure everywhere else. Let them come here, have their fun before they go back to kind of their outlet. So not much emphasis on the winning and losing part.
I'm not sure all the parents got that memo.
Yeah.
That's only picking one from one team,
Yeah.
not multiple teams, but
Right.
one.
But,
Yeah.
Because I could see
well,
going
I
around to multiple teams.
got a problem with that to a certain extent.
Yeah.
You could have the best pitcher in the league, and he's played with that team for 3 or 4 years. Suddenly, and hey, I want that one.
Yeah, that's what I'm getting at.
Yeah, I don't know that I agree with that.
Yeah, I had some calls here before last, or whenever they was having them. There was a coach picking out certain ones, and he's building his own team.
Right.
And he was picking the best ones. And, I want to see that stopped. Yeah, like Jerry said, it's for the
Page
kids.
12,
Yeah,
section X. Talks about how they divide the teams.
if you're doing it just to be a fantastic coach and having a winning team every year, you're in it for the wrong reason.
Yeah.
Now, when we were in Dixie League, after our local league was over, then whoever the Dixie coach, they got to pick out of the league. And that's a whole different setting for what's going on during the regular season.
Okay. All right. Now we're just down to a couple of things just from me, real quick. So, on the tourism front, Kathleen, our tourism director, and I think I might, if time allows, maybe have her come to one of the future meetings to talk about some of this. But Kathleen and Andrew and I have been meeting pretty regularly, and so we've been talking about how to spend the Drive 2.0 money that we've now gotten, and we now have a draft strategic plan. Finally, those of you who participated know it was many months ago, but it's taken a little while to get everything back from VTC. So we have a draft that Kathleen's got to add a few extra things, and then we'll get to you. But that helps with a 5-year strategic plan for our tourism effort. In addition, we've gotten some funding for an outdoor version of Drive 2.0. And so we'll be getting the outdoor types of tourism folks together. And she's also shared with me a mock-up of 2 of our new flyers that are being funded by some of those state funds. And so when those markups are actually printed, we'll get those to you. One is about outdoor activity, one is Floyd in general. I was asked earlier, so I will let you all know. We got some very nice, we did the reprint with updates and had all those brochures together for IBMA. There's some out front, and that was a good partnership with the chamber to get that done. And Kathleen has been talking with some billboard folks about putting up some Floyd billboards, particularly electronic ones, that would be targeting Winston-Salem, Greensboro, and maybe even towards Raleigh, although those are a little bit more expensive, and then Roanoke as well. So that is all coming out. Just to clarify, all of that is coming out of various state grants that we've received for tourism. So that's not coming out of any local funds. The Agency on Aging, we had a staff appreciation event this last week, and spent some time talking to our case manager for Floyd County about some of the EMS things you heard about today. And so they're going to be continuing their work with EMS. They said that it's been very positive and unusual to have that kind of working relationship with our local paid EMS staff. And is there something else in that? So, and we'll be starting to look at doing some joint programming with them at the rec center in the next couple of months. And of course, Gracie continues with her work related to trying to get some agency work done, and she met with them also this week. Those of you that came in the back door noticed, or parked in the back, noticed that we have a new safe deck out back. That was a result of our second round of bids. So we put one bid out and they were steep, so we made some changes, got a second bid, and that's what we got. And I've been really pleased. We have footers now for our deck, which we did not have before. And so if you walk out that way, you'll find it's very solid feeling. So we're very happy about that.
It took a load off my mind. Watching,
Did we get to the little landing in the steps?
Yep.
All right.
Yep.
Give us old people a place to rest.
getting ready to say it.
That's right. Yes, it's a lot safer to walk up in the ice and snow than coming up the hill with traffic coming down. So, recreation park improvements. We've started moving. Jacob's moved most of his things into the new building now, and all of the equipment we're trying to get moved out of that orange container there. He's still got a little bit more to get out, so we'll get that taken care of. But for the most part, that work is done, and now pretty soon we'll start enclosing the batting cages and those kind of things. And then we have a couple of more of the beer boxes finally arrived, so those will be put out within the week, hopefully. And so at some point, hopefully before it gets too cold, we'll be able to maybe have some kind of an opening or some kind of kickoff with all of the new building and the playground and all of that. Might be kind of nice. And then finally, you'll see in your animal license plate, in your correspondence, there's a letter from state folks about the animal license plate funds, and going ahead and moving forward with distributing that appropriately. And I think that's all I think. Okay, I will say as a final, maybe a quick final note, if you've been using the system, you've noticed we've had some internet challenges this last week, and Chris has been working really, really hard to deal with it. As I mentioned to you earlier, our IT system, while vastly improved, is still kind of fragile. So appreciate all the effort and everybody's patience with dealing with having intermittent internet. So thank you, and thank you to all the folks who had to live through it a little bit, but he did a great job.
But I don't see a thing on there about adjournment, so I guess we just.
Oh, food line's still open.
I will entertain the motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
All right, on the motion to adjourn, Mr. Booth.
Yes.
Ms. Bechtel.
Yes.
Mr. Cox.
Yes.
And Mr. Turner.
Yes.
All right, thank you all.
Yeah.